Hello and welcome to Madoka Magicast, a podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my Magia Record co-host, Eryn.
Your ho-coast.
My ho-coast.
From coast to coast. Let's not make that joke. Yes, hello, I'm Eryn.
Yes, we are here to talk about the, I guess, generally Madoka Magica franchise, specifically the Magia Record cell phone game, which is shortly going to be turned into an anime. How you doing today, Eryn?
I'm good. I'm a little tired from work, but otherwise raring to go. I've been excited for this recording.
You know, same thing for me. I'm good. I'm excited to talk about Magia Record because a lot's been going on since the last time we talked about it, actually.
Indeed. We should probably do a little bit of catch-up before we start launching into the main topics today.
We probably should. So, one of the big things that happened since the last time we talked about Magia Record was the trailer for the new anime that has been announced to begin in January of 2020.
Finally, we have some solid details, even if it's not a specific date.
Yeah, I mean, I had been expecting it to start earlier than that, but, you know, I'll take 2022.
Yeah, I think people were kind of expecting it to be delayed based on the lack of what we'd heard of it, and also due to Shaft being kind of known for these kind of delays, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They do good work, but it takes a bit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Animation is hard.
Yeah, it's the Shigeru Miyamoto thing where something that's delayed is eventually good, but something that comes out when it's not ready is just bad forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they needed to delay it to make it better, go for it. You delay it as long as you need to. I would rather it be good because I have a shaky amount of faith in the franchise right now, and I really need Magia Record to be good.
Yes, I really hope so. The trailer certainly looked good, and I guess let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about without having it in front of me, but it's like, it was very Inukuri, like very weird visuals.
Yeah, like in addition to what you'd expect to see from like, oh, look at all your favorite characters from the game in beautiful animation. There is a lot of like witch imagery and also just like interesting storytelling looking imagery, it seems, as well. Like, and there's like, I remember one shot with like the mysterious girl whose face is completely blacked out with static. That looked really neat and Utena-ish.
Yeah, and there's this shot of, and as someone who has played through a lot of the story in Magia Record so far that's been released in English, I did not recognize this as part of the story. But there's these interesting shots of Iroha, the main character, in what looks like a witch labyrinth, or maybe, as we'll get to, a rumor labyrinth, where she's being chased by like a malevolent cloud of like pixels or boxes, kind of. And she's like she's on like a subway or a train, and she's being chased by this cloud. I have no idea what that's supposed to be about, but...
Yeah, is that like the big CGI kind of looking thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it looks like that's all part of like an early scene in episode 1, just because it has to do with like that new character that's there as well, it seems like.
That's possible.
Because she's in that scene later too, isn't she? Like fighting with her? Or is that separate?
So. I mean, it's possible. I mean, none of that is in the cell phone game story, because the cell phone game story is like a visual novel, so it's kind of short on visuals.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't really pick apart... Excuse me. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't really pick apart the, like, background details that, like, you could for the anime, for the games chapters.
Yeah, because the game chapters are mostly dialogue, like visual novel style, where it's like a static background, talk sprites, and then their characters just talking back and forth to each other. So when we have an image in the trailer of like an actual witch labyrinth, that's not really reflected in the visuals of the actual cell phone game. Or it could just be completely new.
Yeah, like certainly the whatever the cloud sprite thing is new. If it's related to that what is it, big eye looking witch thing.
Yeah.
Then that's also new. There is one not new witch that you can see very briefly in the trailer. It's the sandbox witch, which we'll get to a little bit later.
I would love to talk about that one because that one's really cool witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a new character in the anime that is not in the cell phone game. Although a lot of people have been predicting the general role that she will have in the story. Because her costume looks very similar to NPCs in the story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, she looks... Yeah. Well, for one, similar to NPCs in the story, but also a little similar to Iroha's own outfit as well, I feel like.
Yeah, so there's an implied connection there between the two of them, and we'll get into that later as we talk about the story and the designs and everything. But honestly, after playing up to where it's been released so far in English, I would be okay with that unnamed kind of character role in the story being played by a specific magical girl.
Yeah, it would create a lot of connection to that role without giving anything away about it.
Especially if that character ends up being like friends with Iroha. Yeah. So, and then also in the trailer, we see some of our beloved standard characters from the Magia game, like Mitama, Yachio, Momoko, and, Rena, and the girl whose name I can never remember.
Well, there's a few of them for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of magical girls in Magia Record, so I apologize ahead of time if I forget their names.
That's okay. That's kind of the point of Magia Record.
Yeah, just more
just all the girls, so you can continue to want them forever.
Yeah, and which works, honestly.
It does. Like, they do a really good job of characterizing them so that you do want to have them on your team.
I find myself, I should not admit to this, but I'll go ahead and admit to it. I find myself buying the once a day 99-cent gem thing.
It's okay, so do I sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a relatively good deal in the sense that you save a few cents every day if you buy it. And, as someone with an addictive personality, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, I've moved a step up as well. I get that, like, monthly, the Magia stone pack, the one that gives you extra stones per day.
Yeah, I mean, I whenever I play these kind of games, I sign up for that from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. The like, pass, basically.
Yeah, as someone who has expendable money and is willing to spend it on a game that I actually like, if I open a gacha and I play it for a few hours and I actually like it, usually I'm willing to put in like the $5 a month or whatever it is to get the daily benefits. You know what I mean? So that goes without saying. But now I find myself spending the 99 cents a day on top of that for like. It's like, okay, all right, I guess this game's got me now.
Yeah. And let's not talk about, like, some of the spending I've done recently.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because right now we are in the first day of the second part of the Joan of Arc event.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the Joan of Arc manga?
I did not before starting this event. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Other than knowing generally what the premise was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with me. Like, I knew generally some of the major details about it, but I had not read it. Makes me wonder
and I still
how
haven't.
Close. Yeah, me neither. Makes me wonder how close the story in the game is to the story in the manga.
Well, we know for sure at least some of the translation isn't quite what some people would hope it would be.
Yeah, because, like, in Japanese, her name is Tart, T-A-R-T. And for some reason, in the English translation of Magia Record, they translate it as Dark, D-A-R-C. And I can personally say that I think Tart is a much better and cuter name for her.
I'll admit I was never a fan of it myself, if only because, like, I never understood that choice looking at just the manga on the shelf. Like, she's Joan of Arc, why is she called Tart?
Because it's cute and it makes you think of, like, pastries.
I'll admit I liked it a bit better once I saw, like, a scan of, like, the page where she gets that nickname, which apparently is a result of, like, her trying to write the one thing she knows how to write, which is her own name. But because her penmanship is so bad, the dark part of her name looks like Tart.
See, that makes me even more upset that they didn't just keep it as Tart.
Yeah, and a lot of people are wondering why they changed it. Especially because now there's evidence that it looks like that wasn't the plan to start with.
Well, then what's the point?
Like, they found, like, in a very small corner of the game, in, like, the follow players tab and nowhere else, her name actually did show up as Tart and not Dark. So that suggests to me that her name was going to be Tart at some point, but they changed course at some point.
So the question I have is why?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is, like, some people have suggested it might be a potential censorship thing because Tart means prostitute in some parts of the world.
Oh, I mean, maybe.
And cell phone games can be weird about that because, like, obviously that wouldn't really be a problem for the manga publishers, but it might for a cell phone game that's going out into various parts of the world where the rules are different.
Yeah, also she is technically a religious figure. Yeah,
I don't know. Nobody knows, and the developers certainly aren't saying, so we can't really speculate too far.
Even if they did it as Dart, D-A-R-T,
that would have been cool too.
D-A-R-C, even that I would have been okay with. But Dark is like, huh?
Especially because she's the maiden of hope and light, and she's a light type.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little strange. I mean, the story is interesting. It basically involves Iroha and Yachio, who are our main characters in Magia Record, who we will talk about shortly. It involves them essentially going back in time in dreams to the time of Joan of Arc and assisting with the 100 Years' War, which is kind of cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, like, it's the kind of, like, side story fluff that I'm not investing myself hugely in, but it's fun while it lasts.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what Dark was like as a magical girl. Like, that's, if you're gonna go ahead and have Joan of Arc be a magical girl, like, this is not a bad way to do it, where we get to see what she's like and everything. You know, instead of just saying, like, oh, she wasn't, you know, she was a woman who accomplished things, but it's because she had magic, so.
Yeah, no, and I like the personality she seems to show. Like, she's kind of how you would expect in that she's, like, an upstanding personality, but she's also, like, very positive and happy to see people, and of course very passionate about inspiring people to fight the good fight, that kind of thing.
And very religious. So it's like borderline, I almost want to say, like, culture appropriation, but I'm not offended because it's like the subservient culture appropriating the dominant culture. I don't care about that. I'm not offended, but it is a little bit like Dark has this assistant named Melissa who's supposed to be French. I'm pretty sure Melissa is not a French name.
No, and she dresses more like a Victorian person than a medieval person, honestly.
Yeah, and then there's another magical girl named Liz who's supposed to be from Italy. And her name is, like, Liz Hawkbrook, which is
or Hawkwood, I think, yeah.
Hawkwood, which is not an Italian name at all.
Yeah, it might make more sense in the manga. I don't know. I haven't read it.
Yeah, I haven't read it either, but it's a little bit like, okay, this is
and
a
weirdly,
Japanese
the
person.
character with the most French name, which is the antagonist, Corbo, is supposed to be on the side of the English.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. In terms of that stuff. But, you know, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not offended or anything. I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, no, it is kind of funny. And I will say, as anime interpretations of Joan of Arc go, it is definitely not the worst one.
Oh no, is there a worse one?
There's definitely, I think she shows up in, like, a few different mobile gacha games in, like, kind of, like, fetish baity type attire.
Oh no, is it Fate? Because I know Fate includes a lot of, like, mythological characters. No.
Yeah, there's at least one in Fate. There might be more. I haven't tracked them all down.
I'm gonna try to withhold all judgment I have of Fate, because I only know things about it from osmosis, and if I judged it on that just alone, I would be sitting here filling an hour with complaining.
Yeah, exactly the same. I'm not a Fate person. I know of it. I know a few general things about it, but not enough to pass any kind of judgment.
Yeah, I'll stay in my lane when it comes to that. But I will say that the Dark event is great so far because you can basically just grind awakening items by, like, repeating the same hard difficulty encounters over and over again.
Yeah, and even just it's easy to farm, like, the event currency to completely empty out the shop if you want to, because the event is so long and it's easy enough to just repeat the easy levels too for that purpose.
Yeah, so there's like the AI. There's a few items where this is the first time I've seen it since I started playing the game. It's like the AI code, and I forget what it's called. It's like staircase metal or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few different ones where this is the first time I've actually seen it available for purchase in any event. So those are the ones I bought first.
Yeah, the AI code is real hard to get.
Yeah.
Staircase medals have been in a few different events, but they're relatively hard to get too, so definitely worth picking those up.
Okay. Then that's what I'll maybe try to focus on before the event ends.
I can't remember if there are plaque cords, but definitely get those too, because those are way harder to get than they should be.
There are. There's plaque cords, there's chains, there's owl buckets.
Yeah, owl buckets you could leave for last. Not many girls use those.
Well, my point is that it's actually pretty easy to grind for some of these things.
Yeah.
Especially if you use the bonus memoria.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have... Well, I should mention that I have not gotten Dirk yet, but I've done like 3 or 4 different pulls, like 10 plus pulls at a time.
Yeah.
What did happen last time was I got the Dark 4-star Memoria. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, like I got that one too.
Yeah, I got 2 of them directly one after another. So
nice.
I did a 10 pull, and then I pulled one, and I pulled the same Memoria right after that.
Please tell me you kept both copies.
Yeah, I did. I kept both
copies.
Good.
I was so stupid. I normally keep event Memoria like that, and I got 2 copies, but I wasn't thinking, and I practiced one into the other to ascend it.
I mean, I'll probably do that eventually, but for now, while the event's still on, I'm definitely using it as a bonus for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And putting as many of the shop Memoria on my other support girls as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. That's the cool thing about this event, is just being able to grind for some of those really hard to get items that otherwise are kind of annoying to have to, like, slowly accumulate.
Yeah, that's generally the advice with a lot of the Awakening items. I feel like your best chance to get them is in events a lot of the time.
Yeah, and some of them are easier to get than others. Like, there's one that's, like, little white seashells.
Yes, please someone take these seashells away from me.
Yeah, I feel like those are a little bit easier to get drops from than some of the other more rare items. For example, I was doing, we're reviewing Chapter 1 today of Magia Record.
Yep.
And while I was doing Chapter 1 over again, just to review it, I got 2 different seashells going over those chapters.
Yeah, I remember the first time I played through, that was like one of the first drops I got. I was like, oh, what's that, I wonder?
Yeah, and I got some more of those just when I did it over again, so I was like, well, that's nice. I didn't have to spend anything to get those.
Now I have like 60 of them, and I don't know what to do with them, because no girls except Iroha seem to use them.
Oh, no, there's some that use them. I mean, I don't know if it's girls that you necessarily want to use.
Yeah,
but,
just not as many as you would like, generally.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Dark event is ongoing. I intend to finish up the events, hopefully, as much as I can, and at least finish up the Melissa upgrades, because she's one of those characters where everything you need to upgrade her completely is in the event.
Mm-hmm. And also, she's the first of these characters that we know is going to get a 5-star uncap later down the road.
Yeah, so if you get her to 4-star now and upgrade her as far as possible, you're really doing yourself a favor for the future. And then there's Corbeau, which is interesting. Do you know if we ever get Corbeau added to the game?
Yes, she is added as a 3-star later on down the line, when the Fire Girl from the manga is also added.
Okay, I'll save my interest in that for later.
Yes, it's weird. She's like supposed to be super powerful, but she's like only a 3-star, so I don't know what the deal there is.
You can't have her upstage Tart herself.
I guess not.
Yeah.
But the Fire Girl is going to be a natural 4-star as well.
What's her name?
I forget. It sounds Polish, I think.
Well, it's okay. I was just curious, but that's good, because it means that we're going to get more Tart Magica events in the future, and that's what I want.
Yeah, I think they're going to rerun this specific event again at some point, and they're going to run a second separate event with those 2 new characters.
Okay, good. That's what I want to see. Other than that, the only other thing that has happened since we recorded last was the first mirror rankings.
Which
season.
I got way too into.
So, we've talked about this before already on Discord, but I hate mirrors. Because
I don't blame you.
It is basically a dick-waving contest. I can tell when I'm evaluating, like, which team I'm going to try to fight, whether or not I'm going to be able to fight them and win. Like, very rarely do I pick a team that I think I might not be able to beat, and I actually beat them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it takes a while to get to a point where you have a team where it's like, okay, I think I can take most of the teams I'm seeing.
Yeah, and that was how Endless Mirrors was before then too, and I had no choice but to just kind of play it because I needed the mirror coins to get items that I needed. Now after rankings, I can say at least that, the way that rankings played out in separating everybody into different groups of, the quality of their teams and such, it's much easier for me to actually win at mirrors now.
Yes, no, that's actually really helpful.
Yeah,
there are
really
some people who have, like, misleadingly scary-looking teams, but they're only, like, a B rank, so it probably means those cards aren't, like, as tricked out as they could be.
Yeah.
Or the opposite.
Yeah, you learned that a level 1 5-star is not as good as level 63 star. Like, the level 63 star will beat the level 1 5-star, like, very easily,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so if you've got a full 5-member team of 3 and 4 stars against a 2-member team of 5 stars, chances are you're going to have a pretty decent chance at actually winning.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean,
depends on who the 5 stars are.
Yeah, it depends, and if you play smart. Like, I'm just trying to say it's not going to be a guaranteed defeat for you.
Right.
Yeah, and so I've been doing well enough then. But before the mirror rankings, I was fighting, like, I had a team full of 3 stars, and I was fighting, like, a team of, like, 3 or 400, level 100 5 stars. It was like, this is stupid. Like, I remember a point where I was just putting a level 1 character on my team just so I could get through the losses faster.
Yeah, that a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and it's like, because I just want the coins. I really don't care about competing with other people's teams. I just want the coins so I can get the items that I need.
Yeah, and I think I'm just, like, lucky and privileged at this point that I have a team that I feel like I can compete well enough with, and I totally understand, like, people not doing that because it's hard to get a good team together.
Yeah, and I'm doing better now, but I can definitely say when I first started, it was like, mirrors sucks, and it's not fun.
Well, it especially sucks, certainly, at, like, higher levels as well, because a lot of people start using, like, a lot of the same girls, a lot of the same strategies, and certainly a lot of the same memoria.
Yeah, it gets a little bit repetitive, and you can't use the auto function in mirrors, which is a pain in the ass.
Like, I've gotten to the point where, like, my team is fairly strong now, and I actually am kind of looking for teams that I might have a challenge against because, like, it gets kind of samey after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I can start to see that. I just hope that Memoria continues to be at least mildly entertaining if the game is basically going to force me to participate in it.
Yeah, like, it certainly is going to get better once anti-evade Memoria start showing up.
Oh, yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
I look forward to that. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and start talking about Magia Record then? So, this is our first episode about the actual story of Magia Record. We talked about the game itself in the last episode, the pre-show. And in this episode, we're going to actually start talking about the story. And going over this chapter, there's actually a lot that this first chapter sets up. There's a lot of characters that they have to get through and a lot of concepts that they set up. So I thought it was actually pretty cool that they got through that much.
And they didn't even touch on all of it, really.
No, not even close. There's, like, the main part of the story, which is the Uasa, which we'll get into next episode. That's not even in this chapter.
Yeah, like, they introduced the corest of core characters and a few of their friends. And yeah, that's about it. But it's still intriguing what they do introduce.
Yeah, and I can say that when I first started this, I did not really care for Iroha as a new main character. But I can say now, as somebody who's in chapter 6 out of, this is chapter 1. So at this point in chapter 6, way later, I do have a fondness for her. She does kind of grow into her own.
Same. I like the arc that she's going through, and of course, in chapter 1, she has to start from a place where she isn't the person who's grown very much yet.
Right, and so in this first chapter, It's almost like the original anime itself, where in the first few episodes, like, the characters really aren't that deep yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you keep watching, you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting now where they're going with this character. I wasn't expecting that. This is interesting how these two characters are interacting. I wonder how that's going to play out. And so this is kind of a similar thing, where it's the first chapter and it's really just an introduction of what's going on. So, would you like to tell us about what happens in the prologue? Because there's a prologue scene when you first boot up the game, and some kind of interesting things happen.
Yeah, we won't cover this really in much detail because we did touch on it in the pre-show. It was the Patricia fight scene that we talked about that has Homura and Mami and Madoka fighting that witch on the telephone wires, or no, clothing wires.
Clothing wires, yeah.
Yes. So all of that happens. There's a little bit before that where Kyubey sort of introduces the concept of magical girls to people who don't know the story of Madoka Magica, I suppose.
As if anyone is playing this game without knowing.
There are, surprisingly are.
Really?
Yeah, there are. I've heard from people who are playing Magia Record without having watched Madoka Magica.
Oh my god, what are you doing, friends?
But anyways.
It's on Hulu. Go watch it.
It doesn't take that long.
It's not that long.
But anyway, we go through all of that. We get to the part where the scene diverges from what we see in the anime, and Homura sees a mysterious girl who tells her to come to Kamihama because magical girls can be saved there, apparently. Oh.
And of course, that gets Homura's attention. Because Homura knows what that means.
Homura has a one-track mind, and that is right down that track.
Yeah, exactly.
But all of that happens, and I'm getting through quickly because it doesn't really matter that much.
Sure,
yet.
yeah.
But there are a few interesting visual details at the very end of this prologue. A couple I think are just interesting, like just visual choices that tie it to the anime, such as like they use the countdown kind of that you see in the movie versions of Madoka.
Yeah.
That like film countdown with the fancy lettering. They also have like the curtain rising as if this is a stage play. I'm pretty sure that was in the anime as well. It
was, yeah.
And they have, after the curtain rises, there is a bit of witch script, which we're always interested in witch script.
What does it say?
In this case, as always, it's in German, and it says, Bitte finden Sie mich, which is, please find me.
Oh.
Which will take on significant meaning by the time we get to the end of this chapter summary.
Yes, it will. I like that.
Yes. And after that bit of witch script, there is a mysterious silhouette, sort of like a witchy silhouette that we don't recognize yet. And that's it. Then we move into the main story from there.
Yes. So the chapter 1 begins with our introduction to Iroha Tamaki, who is the new pink one in this story. She is the new main character who is pink.
Because you gotta have one.
You gotta have the pink one. She's gotta be the beacon of hope and friendship in a story like this. The story takes place in a city called Kamihama City, which is not Mitakihara. It's apparently close enough to Mitakihara for people to go back and forth between the two, but it's distinct and different from the city that the original anime takes place in.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a gigantic city with a whole bunch of different wards that can house apparently all of these magical girls. So
yeah, as we learn, Kamihama is a city full of witches. It is much more dense with witches compared to what we see in the original show, and the familiars of these witches are much, much stronger. So the situation in Kamihama as far as magical girls go is pretty different from what we see in the original show, and this becomes very important later.
Mm-hmm. It basically gives the game a reason why you would have all of these magical girls in the same place.
Exactly, because you get from the original show that magical girls maybe aren't actually all that common.
Yeah, and they all stick to their own territories, more or less, and they have, spats about who gets to kill what witches where.
Yeah, whereas in Kamihama, there's so many witches and so many magical girls that they have no choice but to kind of be on top of each other and interact with each other on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I like that, but we'll get to that more later.
I like that too. Also, as you said, it's a good excuse for this game to add tons and tons of new magical girls to it. Anyway, we meet Iroha, and she's come to Kamihama because she has had reoccurring dreams about an unknown girl in the hospital. And whenever she's having dreams about this girl, she can talk to her, but she can't hear the girl's voice responding to her.
Mm-hmm. And they're very fuzzy, they're very blown out and bright, so you can't even really see them very well.
Right, and these dreams began after Iroha took a trip to Kamihama. So she comes back to Kamihama thinking, it must have a connection to these dreams, and maybe if I come here I can find out what they're about and who this mysterious girl is that I'm having dreams about.
Yeah, I would say that she's like, it's interesting that she's the kind of girl that would follow up on a dream like that, but considering that she's already been a magical girl for a while, I guess that's believable enough for her.
Yeah, and the game kind of implies that she kind of has some kind of like innate suspicion that this is important to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not just like, oh, that was a weird dream. It was like, oh, that was a weird dream, and I can't stop thinking about it, and it feels important for some reason.
Right. This is a specific sensation that I need to follow up on.
Right. So she is in Kamihama, and she's about to go home to her family when, while she's waiting to go home, she senses a witch. So she says, oh, it's a witch, I've got to go after it. It could hurt some people. So we're establishing Iroha as a magical girl who hunts witches in order to save people. One of the good magical girls and not a Kyoko type of person. And while she's in the witch's labyrinth, she meets... Okay, what is this character's name?
Kaede.
Kaede! That's her name!
Yeah,
Okay.
Akane is her last name. It's that stupid Madoka tendency of having two first names be character names.
Yeah, so this is Kaede. She's in this labyrinth, and she runs into this other magical girl named Kaede. And Kaede was having a hard time with the witch, and Iroha essentially helps her beat the witch. So this seems like a good time to stop and talk about these two characters and their design.
Right, because they're the first new magical girls we get to see and interact with, more or less.
Exactly. What do you have any thoughts about Iroha's design?
I mostly like it, in terms of her looking like she has a connection to Madoka, but still having her own vibe. Like, she looks like a pink, but she's a bit more reserved. Like, the cloak gives her kind of like a secretive kind of vibe, or an introverted kind of look, almost. The only thing I really don't like is the, who saw this coming? The, like, sheer pantyhose that is, like, around her body.
Yeah, okay, so for people who are listening on SoundCloud who don't have the visual assistance of the YouTube video, Iroha wears a white cloak and hood, which actually looks pretty cool. It's like a Robin Hood kind of hood, and her main weapon is a crossbow, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, we're just, like, getting check marks all through this design. Cool cloak, cool crossbow, cool pink hair. Good so far.
Exactly, yeah. She has a long ponytail in the back, and she has...
Really long, too. It's kind of, like, deceptively, like, long.
Yeah, past her butt. It's actually a really long...
I didn't realize her hair was that long, actually, for a while.
But, unfortunately, the outfit that she's wearing underneath the cloak leaves a little bit to be desired. My problem with this outfit is that it doesn't match her character.
Right.
She's wearing a skirt, a mini skirt with a belt.
A very mini skirt.
Underneath the mini skirt is a pair of shorts, which thank you for giving her a pair of shorts.
Yes.
And then she's wearing a pair of boots that go up above her knee, that are laced up above her knee.
Again, those are good. They kind of go with the Robin Hood theme.
Yeah, and then her chest is she's wearing a similar kind of spandex black tank top, and then on top of that is like like pink straps that go over her boobs.
Yeah, those are a little weird.
It's not even a shirt. It's like this thing that goes around her chest and connects to her hood.
It's almost like a fabric chest plate, kind of.
Yeah, and then underneath all of that, she's wearing like a pantyhose bodysuit.
That's really the only word for it.
Yeah, and honestly, if you took this exact same costume and just had the midriff portion be spandex, so it was black instead of pantyhose, I think that alone would be enough for me to be mostly satisfied with it.
I think in general it feels like the magical girl designs in Magia Record have a problem with midriff generally. There's a lot of girls that just randomly show their belly button.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was
whether
about
it works
to
with
say.
the costume or not.
There is an unreasonable amount of exposed midriff in the Magia Record designs, and I don't understand what that's about.
considering I've had to, speaking of that dark event again, I've been replaying it over and over again, specifically the 1-1 mission so that I can farm the event currency, and that battle has Corbo in it, so I've just had to repeatedly watch her, like, rear back with her, like, maniacal laughter, pumping her belly button out at the
Liz too. Liz has an exposed belly button, so she
why Liz of all people?
I don't understand.
she of all people should be, like, covered from head to toe.
Yeah, and you know, like I would be more okay with some of the costume variations if we didn't have, like, 3/4 of them have exposed belly button. It gets a little tired after a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's otherwise a fine design. Really, it's just the midriff and miniskirt situation that kind of throws it off.
Yeah, and then we have Kaede.
Kaede is precious. I love her, actually.
She's basically... I love her. So when I first saw her, I was like, oh, she's perfect. She's so cute. So Kaede she looks like an actual little witch.
Yes!
So she has, like, a big witch's hat that's pointy, and it's so long that it flops over. It's like almost like a wizard's hat. But she keeps it flipped backwards onto her shoulders instead of on top of her head. So it's kind of like behind her head. And then she wears a little cloak with a bow. And then, of course, she has the exposed midriff for some reason.
Yeah.
And then she wears a little pair of shorts and a pair of tights. And she's got a little bit of a cloak. And she's really... And she has, like, a wizard staff that looks like a old oaken staff with, like, a little charm on the end. And she's really, really cute.
Yeah, and the details I like best are, like, that staff and her, like, hair accessories are both, like, autumn leaves themed, so she feels like a fall witch, specifically.
But they also kind of look like feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just in general, it gives her, like, a nature-y feel.
Yeah, she very much feels like a nature sorceress kind of feeling.
Right, and that fits her very well. I've read her side story, and that it's definitely her deal.
Yeah, and her personality-wise, she's very meek and very reserved and kind of shy and insecure. And I just think she's really cute and fun, and I really like her. Yeah. So she is the other magical girl. So these are the first two magical girls that we see to begin with in Magia Record. Also, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but is Kaede's soul gem that thing on the end of her hat?
Oh, I don't know. It might be.
Or is it the thing on the end of her staff?
I have been trying to spot soul gems on the girls more recently, but I haven't picked up hers yet, I think.
It's hard. I can't tell which of these large, shiny, like, gem shapes on her design are supposed to be her soul gem.
Now you've got me Googling.
I can see a whole bunch of them at once. Yeah. I want to say it's at the end of her hat, because it's the most noticeable.
I'm looking at the Madoka wiki. It says it's a reddish-brown circle tied to her hair.
What?
I don't even see it in this picture.
I don't either. Tied to her hair.
Where is it? It must be on, like, the back of her head or something.
Okay, I don't see it in any of these pictures.
I don't either.
Alright, That's weird. I'm gonna say citation needed on that one.
I'm gonna say it's the thing at the end of her hat until further notice.
I'm pretty sure it's the thing on the end of her hat. Anyway. So, after Iroha saves Kaede, she says she's looking for a small Kyubey, which doesn't talk. So this has come up right before this. Iroha keeps seeing a baby version of Kyubey that can't talk.
That's not ominous at all.
Yeah, it keeps running away from her, and she thinks that the baby Kyubey knows something about the mysterious girl and what's going on with Kamihama.
Right, and I think she clarifies a little bit later in the chapter that specifically it was after seeing the baby Kyubey that the dreams started. Yeah,
exactly. Like which makes her suspect more and more that she needs to do something with that Kyubey. And Akano says, well, recently, all of the other, like, Kyubey / all of the other Kyubey, whether you want to consider Kyubey a singular person or a plural, they've all disappeared from town, and that's the only Kyubey left in town is the baby Kyubey that can't talk. So, Iroha has helped Kaede get out of the witch labyrinth before anything bad happened, but she chases after the witch because she's going after the Kyubey. And instead of, Kaede had said, oh, you know, that small Kyubey, it's so skittish that nobody can get up close to it because it just runs away as soon as you get close to it. But apparently Iroha can just walk right up to it and talk to it. Yeah.
The plot thickens.
Yeah.
So yes, she can just walk right up to this small cube apparently, and she follows it back into the witch's labyrinth, which seems to be the same witch from before. She runs into a few more of the familiars, which she, having had trouble with it with 2 magical girls, of course she's still going to have trouble with it now.
Right.
So she starts to have a bad time with these familiars before passing out, but just before she passes out, she sees a mysterious girl who is not the girl she met earlier.
Right.
And she passes out, and then when she wakes up again, there's yet another girl there. Yet another magical girl who apparently saved her.
Yet a third girl that we do not know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This, you see what we're talking about with all of the characters.
Yes.
So this new girl, not the one that she saw before she passed out, but a different one, is Momoko Togame. And Momoko is just glad that she's okay. She's obviously sees that she's not from Kamihama. She knew she needed help. And she offers to take Iroha to go see someone named the Coordinator to help her survive easier in the battles that she would face in Kamihama. The Coordinator is somebody that everyone in Kamihama knows. All the magical girls, anyway, know her because the witches in Kamihama are so much stronger. The girls need a little bit of extra help to fight against them, and this Coordinator person can help them by realigning their soul gems and enhancing their magic.
Quote unquote realigner.
Yeah, she's basically like a magical girl chiropractor is what a lot of people call her.
I love that.
She just performs her chiropractic on their soul gems instead of their bodies.
Yeah, and apparently she cannot fight witches herself. So, in exchange for doing this realignment of soul gems, people pay her in grief seeds.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we move on to... Well, actually, maybe we can talk a little bit about her and Momoko at the same time, because they've both got kind of interesting designs. This Coordinator and Momoko. The Coordinator's name, by the way, is Mitama Yakumo, yet another new character name to put in your brain space.
Momoko is interesting because her design reminds me a lot of Sayaka.
Interesting. A lot of people I know compare her to Mami, but I think that's only because she's blonde, really.
Honestly, I think if I could describe her character, it's like a combination of Mami and Sayaka.
That seems fair.
Yeah, because she's got that veteran, motherly kind of attitude towards other magical girls, where she goes out of her way to take care of other magical girls.
Right.
But her overall aesthetic feels more knight-like, more self-righteous. She's got a big-ass sword, same way that Sayaka did.
Yeah, and her personality leans that way, too. She's very brash. She's, very, likes to... Well, she doesn't like to fight, but she's very good at fighting.
Yeah, she's very outspoken. She will stand up for what she thinks is right instead of maybe what's necessarily the smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she's kind of a if I had to compare her to any other characters, she would be like a mixture of Sayaka and Mami.
Yeah, I kind of feel like she might be how Sayaka could be if she had survived longer.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, but anyway, she's blonde, she's got, the long, big ponytail happening, she's got that knight-like outfit, her colors are kind of like an olive green and white, which is an interesting combination.
Yeah, like olive green, yellow, and white, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost a little bit bland, which is kind of interesting, considering, how much these designs usually pop.
Yeah, but there's so much white in it at the same time that it's kind of got, this knight-like kind of feel to it. The same
I like
way
it for
Sayaka
that
did.
reason.
Yeah, she doesn't get to wear pants.
Yeah, no, of course not, sadly.
She's got another exposed midriff, and she's wearing underwear underneath her waist armor, and then she's wearing, stockings.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's overly sexual, but in terms of, all of the designs being kind of similar, there's no reason for this character to have an exposed midriff.
Especially because, not to get into anything specific, but if you read her side story, her whole thing is that she's more introverted than she seems. So she really shouldn't be that exhibitionist, really.
Yeah, neither should Iroha for that, while we're on that topic, but, there's too many Billy Buttons in Magia Record. As we've mentioned already. and then we did see Yachio very quickly. I don't know, maybe we should save Yachio for later.
Yeah, save Yachio for later, I think. The other design I mainly want to look at is Mitama, because that's a design.
I love her, and she's amazing.
I do like Mitama's character a lot. Her design is a little too many elements for me, I think.
There's a lot going on. Okay, so Mitama is the coordinator, as we have said. She has kind of a... How do I want to describe this? Almost like a butler?
Yeah, that's a good... Yeah, like a butler or suit? like those kind of boy Lolita type equivalent outfits you see sometimes, like the Edwardian kind of thing.
She's
waistcoat.
She's sort of wearing a suit jacket and a waistcoat, but the jacket doesn't have sleeves. But it's got the same kind of suit jacket collar.
And she's got like these enormous like tails like a tux would have.
Yeah, like long coat tails, like a formal tuxedo, and like she's not wearing a ruffled skirt, she's wearing like a business skirt where it's just like a pencil straight.
Yeah, exactly. Pencil skirt is what I'd call it.
Yeah. So she's very cute. I like her design a lot. She's also got, a bun and a ponytail, and she has 2 different hair accessories.
Yeah. This is what I meant by, like, it's a little much. Like, it's a little bit of everything. It's like, let's have the business chic, but also all of the ruffles, and 2 different styles of hair accessories.
Yeah.
Sort of short hair in the front and long hair in the back.
Exactly. Another thing I would say about Magia Record designs, too many ruffles. Too many belly buttons.
It's hard to go too many ruffles, but still.
I seriously have to wonder how much of these ruffles they're actually going to keep in the anime, because it's going to be way too hard to animate.
Yeah, I mean, they already eliminated all of Yachio's beads.
Right, they just turned it into like a veil instead of these things hanging off of her head, because good luck with that.
Yep.
But she is very cute. She has gray hair, and I'd say overall her main colors are dark blue and gray.
Yep, with a little bit of white.
She's very cute, and also what's great about her is this long-running joke that she's very gay and very horny all the time.
Which, for certain characters, that's a little weird, but, like, I guess she's 17, so she's, like, in their age range at least.
Also, this is totally like a lesbian anime, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same as like an old man character who's as horny as that. It's got a whole different kind of feeling to it. She's just teasing everybody.
There is one other thing I'd like to mention about Mitama specifically, and that's about her voice actress. I don't really know much about the voice actresses for the other new characters, but I definitely know Mitama's voice actress, who is Yui Horie, who is like a superstar Japanese voice actor.
Really?
Yeah, she was like the voice of Toru in the original Fruits Basket. She was Naru in Love Hina. That was like her first big breakout role.
Ooh.
I don't know if anybody remembers the show but me, but she was the main female lead in Detective Loki Ragnarok, the mythical Detective Loki, whatever it's called.
I do not know it, but I'll trust you.
But no, I look up her like list of credits and be amazed that this woman has the time to do all of the stuff that she has done and continues to do.
Voice actors are kind of superheroes in that sense sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Tsubasa Hanekawa from Bakemonogatari is her other big character I think people would know her for.
Okay, so she's a Shaft veteran.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that I wanted to mention her for. Because she plays Mitama, first off. She also plays Tart/Dark. So she's already playing dual roles in this game.
Really?
Yes.
I did not notice that.
And later on down the line, this game, depending on whether we get this crossover or not, is going to have a Bakemonogatari crossover where her character from that show is also a playable character in the game. So she plays 3 characters in Magia Record.
You know what? Let's just roll with it. You gotta just roll with it. That's how this goes,
I just found this out today. That's why I'm so excited to share this. It's like, what? How did this happen?
I like how one of Mitama's, I guess this is maybe her 4-star or 5-star image, but I love an anime where you've got a character whose skirt is way too short, but then you draw a picture of her where you would normally be able to see her underwear, but you don't want to show her underwear, so you have, her skirt unnaturally, curving up above her butt in defiance of gravity. So
it's duct tape there or something.
Yeah, good job, Magia Record. Why don't you just not make her skirt that short? Just a suggestion.
Maybe that's why she can't fight witches.
There you go.
Her legs are stuck together.
She's too embarrassed. Yeah, so Momoko takes Iroha to Mitama. Mitama lives in, like, an abandoned building.
Yeah, they call it, like, an abandoned house, but the background they use looks more like a warehouse.
And then when you go into the abandoned house, it's, like, a really nice apartment. Like, all
yeah,
of a
like
sudden,
a
it's, like,
lot
nice.
of modern furnishing. Like...
Yeah, and well-decorated. So Momoko pays Mitama with a grief seed to align Iroha's gem. So Iroha's like, okay, lay down and I'm gonna touch your soul gem and she says she's gonna infuse it with, quote, another kind of magic to bring out its hidden potential. So when Mitama reaches into her soul gem, Iroha finds herself having another vision of the mystery girl. But she's still... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Very important thing before all of this mystery plot, by the way. We have a very weird joke that happens before she does the soul gem realignment, where we were just talking about Mitama being very, very gay, and there's a bit where she tries to, like, prank Iroha, basically, and say, like, oh, why don't you take off your clothes before we do this?
Ah!
And of course, Iroha, being very, very naive, is like, okay, sure, that's definitely how this works. Before Momoko's like, no, don't tease her like that.
This is what we meant by, thank goodness this character is female, because otherwise it would not come off the same way.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's still a little creepy considering the writers are probably male.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyways, I just wanted to mention that because it stands out to a lot of people when they read the story, I find.
It does. So Mitama aligns her soul gem, quote unquote, and Iroha has a vision again of the mystery girl that she keeps seeing in her dreams. She feels like this special connection to her. It's not just this mystery girl. She feels like she has affection, and she got this, like, nostalgic feeling when she thinks about her. And when Iroha wakes up, Mitama says, when I do this to girl soul gems, I can see into their past. And I won't, I'm not going to tell anyone what I saw, and I won't violate your privacy. But let me ask you this. Do you remember what you wished for when you made a contract with Kyubey? And Iroha says that she does not remember. She realizes she can't remember what her wish was.
Right, it's one of those things, like, it's like an Inception moment where you don't realize anything's weird until you really think about it, and then you're like, oh god, what happened?
Right, exactly. So, which is impossible, because she must have made a wish in order to be a magical girl.
Yeah.
So she had to wish for something from Kyubey to even be in this situation in the first place, and yet at the same time she can't remember what it was.
Indeed.
So the game implies that this mystery girl that she's seeing in her dreams and her visions is connected to her forgotten wish in some way. And when Iroha wakes up, she's like, I can't remember, and she has this conversation with Mitama, and she's like, I can't remember my wish, but I started seeing this dream of this girl when I found small Kyubey and came to Kamihama for the first time, so this girl must be connected to small Kyubey and Kamihama, so she immediately tries to get up and rush out to find the small Kyubey again.
Which, if you've ever had a massage or a chiropractic session before, you don't want to, like, move a whole bunch after you do that. I can only imagine what the magical equivalent is like.
Yeah. Momoko tries to stop her, and earlier in this chapter, Momoko kind of scooped up Iroha like, oh, you better come with me before something bad happens. And now in this situation, Momoko's like, wait, no, you can't go off by yourself. And soon enough, we find out that the reason for that is because another magical girl named Yachio quickly finds Iroha. Should we talk about Yachio for a second and her design?
Yes, because that stands out, like, immediately as soon as you see her.
Yeah, I love Yachio. I can say that at the point I'm at in the story now, I really, really like her and her design a lot.
She's very good. Like, a lot of people joke when they first see her, like, oh, it's Homura 2.0, dur her. But I think that's selling her short, even just from the design perspective. I think she looks a lot different from Homura.
You know what the difference is? I don't think this is giving it away too quickly because the game kind of hints at this. But the big difference between Yachio and Homura is that Yachio still has it in her heart to care about other people.
Yeah, even if she plays it off like she doesn't.
Yeah, whereas Homura, when we see her in the anime, is so traumatized to the point that she really only cares about Madoka at that point.
Yeah, like she's had to, like, traumatize herself out of caring about Sayaka, about Mami, about Kyoko, about all of them. She has to stay so single-minded to achieve her goal.
Yachio still has it in her to be a little bit tsundere and, like, kind of actually care about other people but pretend that she doesn't. Whereas Homura has had it, like, beaten out of her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
like,
Yachio's like an older, like a big sister type kind of character.
Yeah, in this case, very literally, she is, I think, the oldest magical girl in the game.
Isn't she 19?
Yeah, she's 19. They make a big deal about her being in college.
Yeah.
But yes, she arrives on the scene and she confronts Iroha and basically tells her to get out of town because she doesn't belong here. Oh, is this the point where she gives her a challenge, or is that a little bit after this?
This is the point where she's like, listen, I'm gonna chase you down because you don't have what it takes in Kamihama, and you might think it's mean for me to say this, but I'm actually saving your life by doing this. So you need to leave, is basically kind of how she says it.
Mm-hmm.
And, Iroha tells Yachio that, well, I went to the coordinator and had my soul gem aligned, so I'm supposed to be able to survive better here. And Yachio says something interesting. She says, like, I see that Momoko is at it again. So very early on, we're pitting Momoko against Yachio in, like, a interesting kind of way where it's just like, okay, what's going on between these two characters?
Yeah, these two different approaches to being a magical girl in Kamihama.
Yeah.
The one being very much looking out for other characters and being like a presence to help them, and the other being like, you don't got the stuff, just get out if you can't hack it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look out for you by telling you that you don't belong here and telling you to just leave now.
Which, to be fair, is not an entirely incorrect approach.
Yeah.
There are probably a lot of magical girls who really would get hurt if they stayed.
Yeah, and as we're narrating this, there's some game elements where there's a little battle between familiars in your party every once in a while. So if I remember right, at this point there was a battle, and Iroha loses essentially in the story to Yachio, but Yachio is intrigued by the fact that Iroha can approach the small cube, whereas it's very skittish and runs away from everybody else up to that point. So Yachio says, she's chasing after the small cube to save lives. Momoko accuses her of not wanting to share grief seeds and wanting all the witches to herself, like a very Kyoko, like accusing her of being a Kyoko kind of character.
Right, and we would have no reason to disbelieve that because we know that type of magical girl definitely exists based on the anime.
Right, and Yachio says, okay, well, that's not what I'm doing. But since I'm so tired of dealing with this and tired of being misunderstood here, if Iroha can beat the witch by herself and beat it before me, then I will let you stay in Kamihama and I'll stop making you try to leave.
Right, that's the challenge I'm remembering. It was just a little later in the scene than I remembered it, I think.
Exactly.
So they end up going to chase down the same witch from earlier. This sandbox witch is what they call her in the game's documentation, I believe. And it's this, I haven't talked really about the design of this witch, but it is, as witches tend to be, very cool.
She's actually great.
Like, she's made of, like, it looks like a youngish woman with, like, long curly brown hair, except she's made up of, like, particles, kind of like different colored sand particles. Yes. And her head is, like, kind of spherical, and she has, like, I think a single big eye, and around her arms is, like, a set of rings, kind of like a Saturn or Uranus type planetary rings, and she's got these big, long arms with big kind of bell sleeves, and a big dress, and she surrounds herself with a whole bunch of, like, little sand castles and buckets and shovels and whatnot, and she just continually makes sand castles over and over again, up and down and up and down. And she can make sand tornadoes come out of her hair, and it's awesome.
Yeah, if you watch the Sandbox Witch's idle animation, she kind of uses her long sleeves and her hands to build a sand castle. And then as soon as she builds it, she smashes it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really...
There's like a futility there.
Yeah, it's a really cool witch. I hope we get to see this in the anime, this witch.
Yeah, well,
really
she's
fun.
definitely in the anime. What her function is, like, what context we'll see her in is yet to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she's gotta be in there.
And I think from having looked it up, her name is Zenobia.
Zenobia? Okay, hold on, let me Google that.
Zenobia.
Ah, okay, here it is. Yeah, she's so cool. And she's got the little shovels stuck in her head. And
yeah, like a bucket for a hat.
Yeah, it says, an extremely picky witch who knows nothing of compromise. She continuously attempts to build a satisfactory sandcastle, but finds fault with everyone she builds, knocking them down time and again. By now, even the witch herself has forgotten just what she wanted to build in the first place. Nonetheless, regardless of the fact that she'll destroy it in the end anyway, her mood seems to temporarily improve when she builds a fairly impressive castle. Her appearance may resemble a mature woman, but in contrast, her personality is the very definition of childish. If she's interrupted while playing in the sand, she'll start bawling and go on a rampage. So, I love it, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we see more. Also, I've always wished that they would come out with official magical girls of these witches, all of the witches, in the same way that they do with Charlotte.
Yeah, because I would really like to know. I've seen, like, there's a YouTube video out there I've seen that has someone, like, speculating what the magical girls would have been like based on what we see of the witches, but it's not quite the same thing as actually seeing them.
You know what? Do you remember Gertrude from the first couple episodes of the anime?
Yeah, the Rose Witch.
There's a magical girl in Magia Record who I swear would be the perfect spitting image.
Is it the Scissors Girl?
Yes! What is her name?
Konomi?
Konomi? She would be perfect as Gertrude.
I haven't read her stuff yet, so I don't know what her character's like, but she certainly looks the part.
I'm just going based off of her design. Flawless.
Yeah, like,
she's got the red hair, she's green, she's flower themed. It's perfect. When I first saw her, I legitimately thought that that's what she was supposed to be, but apparently not necessarily.
Yeah, like, that's like we can neither confirm nor deny kind of thing, I suppose.
Yeah, which makes me sad. Anyway, we can probably get to that later, but it just came to my mind as we were talking about it. So, Yachio gives Iroha one more chance. You gotta beat this witch by yourself, or you're out of here. So, in the game, you have the battle, Iroha does it, and Yachio finally says, okay, I acknowledge that you're strong enough to be here in Kamihama, I'll let you stay.
Yeah, and more specifically, she actually relents a little bit and says, like, I suspected you could do it all along.
Yeah.
Well, who knows how true that is, but I don't know, based on what I've seen of her later, I think she's telling the truth.
I think so too. She was probably just double checking. Yeah.
It's like, I think this girl can do it, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah, Momoko says, well, in that case, you were just toying around with Iroha. What was the point of all that after all? And Yachio says, well, and this is where she's really like Homura. She's like, well, this whole thing was really so that I could arrange the situation to meet my objective. And she grabs the small Kyubey. And she's like, really, this whole time I was just trying to get my hands on the small Kyubey who kept running away from me. And she says, whatever it is that's going on with this thing, it can't be good. I'm just going to kill it right now. I don't care what's going on with it. I'm not going to sit around and find out. I'm just going to take care of it right this second.
Mm-hmm. She calls it the irregularity, I think is what she calls it.
Iroha is convinced that it has something to do with the mystery girl in her dreams, so she tries to protect it as Yachio is about to deal a death blow to it.
Yes, and she grabs it and protects it from Yachio, and as she does that, she passes out again and starts to have another seemingly dream, but in this dream, she starts to see the mystery girl and also hear her for the first time.
Yeah, she says there's a line of dialogue or a line of introspection where she's like, I feel the small Kyubey giving me something, or like passing something into me, like something is being transferred into Iroha from the small Kyubey.
Yes, and it basically seems to have granted her the ability to remember that this mystery girl is, dun dun dun, her little sister whom she completely forgot about.
Oh my god!
So, that's a plot hook.
Yeah, and specifically, she remembers that her wish to Kyubey was to cure her little sister who was stuck in the hospital sick and unable to leave the hospital. So, after this vision, there's a little bit of a time skip, and she wakes up back in Mitama's house, and we don't know exactly how the battle with Yachio and Momoko ended.
Yeah, I'm guessing Momoko must have fended her off somehow.
Yeah, but she tells them she remembers, I remember now, the mystery girl's my sister, whose name is Ui.
Which...
U-I?
Yeah.
Ui?
Oh, no! I just got that.
Yeah, not U-E, not UI, not something else that would sound more like a name to my American ears, but very
I mean, that's probably
Ui.
not the intent in Japanese, I guess,
yeah.
But just the fact that her name is literally like you and I, basically.
Yeah. So Iroha says, like, I remember this girl's actually my sister, Ui, and I had wished for her to be cured so she could leave the hospital, but when I think back about what life was like before I remembered her, it was like I never even knew I had a sister, and my parents never said I have a sister, and I never remember having a sister, and my whole life has been like I was a single child, so how could I have forgotten this really important person that I can already tell is important to me?
Like, I always wondered why that other half of the room seemed so empty. It seemed weird for me to have all that space on the other side there.
Yeah, she literally has a bedroom where half of the room is completely empty and devoid of furniture.
So, like, not only did her sister go missing, but all of her stuff went wherever she went, I guess, as well.
And she never apparently thought about it that hard. Like, why am I not using that side of the room? Oh, well.
Just never thought to expand at all. But I guess, like, there probably would have been, like, a lingering feeling in her mind of, like, it feels wrong to put anything on that side of the room.
Yeah.
I don't know why exactly, but it does.
Yeah. So Mitama asks, how could you lose your memory? Could it be a witch that made you lose your memory? And Momoko says, no, I've never heard a witch doing that before. And Iroha basically decides that she is going to keep coming back to Kamihama to look for Ui, because she's confident that Ui really existed, and she's got to find out what happened and why she forgot. And she's convinced that the small Kyubey has something to do with Ui and why she doesn't remember her. And interestingly enough, Iroha names the small Kyubey the same name as the player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why, if you play Magia Record for long enough, you'll notice a lot of people's names are, like, various forms of Kyubey jokes, probably.
Yeah. And then we also get this really cool animated, like, basically an anime opening, like an introduction. It's basically the same as an anime opening. Did you?
Yeah, so this whole first chapter was like a cold open, kind of.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's really well done. They could honestly take this opening movie at the end of the chapter 1 here and just use it as an anime opening, and it'd be great.
Yeah, like the only inconsistency with the anime opening is probably, again, Yachio's beads.
Right, because she has this long crown of, like, long strands of beads, and then in the anime it looks like they're turning it more into a veil because it's going to be way too hard to animate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't actually talk about Yachio's design. I guess, should we talk about that at the end?
Yeah, let's talk about Yachio, because, as I said, I love her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her design is intentionally quite different from a lot of these other magical girl designs. It is noticeably more, I guess I would say it's more mature.
A little bit, yeah. Like, just because it's not very floofy. It has a longer, like, kind of like an evening dress, like a slim evening dress kind of look to it.
With a really high slit all the way up to,
of course,
almost her hip on one side. And she's got kind of chest plate armor in the same way that Sayaka had, but it covers her shoulders too.
Yeah, so that gives her a little bit of that knight vibe as well.
Yeah, it is not a gothic Lolita kind of look. It's definitely more of a, almost want to say like a sorceress kind of look to it. Yeah.
Like a sorceress, or maybe a paladin if she had more armor.
Yeah, and she's got a long trident, almost kind of similar to Kyoko's trident, but it's shaped a little bit different. It's not the same kind of weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it kind of, well, actually, no, it's not that similar now that I really think about it. I was going to say it reminded me a little bit of the staff that Nanoha has in Lyrical Nanoha, but it's really not that similar now that I think about it.
And she's got like we mentioned it a second ago, but she's got kind of like this crown or veil that goes around the back of her head.
Mm-hmm. Like there's 2 gems, that hold it in place.
And then from that there hangs a whole bunch of long ropes or long strings that have beads on the end of it. So this is what we're saying is might turned into more of a veil instead of a whole bunch of dozens of strings.
Yeah, like AKA an animator's nightmare.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how they tackle that. Maybe it'll look like a veil from far away. But
no, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like just a veil. Like it looks like that in the key art as well.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, it sounds like a nightmare have to animate, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't blame them for making that change. Like, I think, I could be wrong, I think I remember seeing in the anime trailer, they also might have taken the spots off of her, like, casual dress as well. Maybe for the same reason.
Yeah, she's got like a spotted little sundress that she wears to school that has polka dots on it. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, but in the trailer, I think it's just black.
Yeah.
With the white collar.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, probably just to make it easier to animate. Kind of like, you know how they took off the extra strings for Madoka's hair bows from Ume Aoki's original design? Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. Like, okay, this is going to be too hard to animate. Let's just take that part off. Yeah. I really like her design a lot, though, and this character grew on me quite a lot. Kind of in the same way that Iroha did as I kept playing the game.
Yeah, and it's hard to say that just from this first chapter to express why that is, but trust us, it's going somewhere.
Yeah, it is. At first, it really does feel like a Madoka XP and a Homura XP, but they really are not the same characters the more you go on in the story. There's some pretty significant differences between them.
Yeah, honestly, and the fact that Magia Record is a longer story than the original anime, because the original anime was so tight and so short, they could only fit so much excess characterization in, whereas the game is very sort of casual in a way. Like the pacing isn't quite as tight, which sounds bad. It's good for sort of having casual scenes with these characters and getting to know them better and flesh out sort of how they act in different situations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's the events and there's the Magical Girl individual stories, which a lot of Magical Girls make cameos in other girls' individual stories.
Which I like. It makes it feel a lot more like this is a world that they all live in together.
Right, exactly. So, you'll be in one Magical Girl's specific story, and maybe Yachio will pop up in that story and have a little bit of a scene with that girl, and you'll get to see a little bit more of her in that situation. Or the current event with Dark that we were talking about. Yachio is involved in that, so you get to see how she is in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, which is certainly a thing to behold in terms of that situation.
Yeah. She's cool, though. I love her. I'm eager to get later on to the story with her. But basically the chapter 1 pretty much finishes up there with Iroha saying, like, okay, I remember Ui now, I remember my sister, I know I have to come back to Kamihama to find out what happened to her. I'm gonna hang out with the small Kyubey because I think it's going to help me. And then basically from there the story kind of leaves its introduction and enters into the actual meat of the story.
Right.
Which we'll have to get into in the next episode.
Yeah, next episode there'll be certainly a lot more to talk about because it's a longer chapter.
Yeah, the next episode essentially sets up what the first 3 episodes of the original anime set up, in that it establishes a lot of the rules of this world. And all of the rules with the witches still apply, but when it comes to Magia Record and the story in Kamihama City, there's a lot of extra rules and extra elements going on.
Yeah, clearly there's, a specific mystery going on in this city, and there are rules by which it operates, and you start to figure out what they are.
Exactly. All of Chapter 2 is essentially teaching the audience what those rules are, and introducing them to that idea, so that then they can explore, okay, where are these coming from? What's really going on in the chapters that come after that. So we're gonna find out what that's all about in the next Magia Record episode.
I'm looking forward to getting to that because it's so I don't want to dance around all this stuff that's coming.
I know, me too. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to get there. Alright, well, thank you for joining me, Eryn.
Yes, thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. If you want to follow Madoka Magicast on Twitter, you can do so at Madoka Magicast, and you can follow me on Twitter at Lambda Power.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Eryn Cerise, ErynCerise. You can also find me on YouTube at the same name.
Totally go onto her YouTube and watch all of her awesome videos about magical girls.
I've been told they're decent. They're pretty good, I think.
Yeah, so by the time people hear this episode, we will have watched Rebellion with Yasha and Vanna.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so in the next week, or potentially 2 weeks from after this comes out, we will have our part 1 of our Rebellion episode. We may have other people on the show for parts 2, 3, 4, whatever. We really don't know yet, but we're going to plan all that after we watch it, so I hope everyone looks forward to it. And
I know I am.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Yasha and Vana think of it.
I think they're going to like it.
I think so too, and I'm also looking forward to rewatching it in advance of the episode, just so I can find out what I now think of it.
Yeah. I look I'm going to watch it again right before we record, just so it's fresh in my mind, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for joining me, Eryn.
Thank you again.
Thank you, and don't forget, if you want to friend us on the Magia Record app, just send us a tweet at us on Twitter. I have tons of friend spaces left, so you can tweet at me, and I'll give you my friend code.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think I can't guarantee that I'll follow back because I'm following a lot of people, but since there's no limit on how many people can follow you, you can definitely follow me.
Oh yeah, and I can tell you, I got magical girls with bonus things for Dark.
Yes, I always put Event Memoria on. You can always get that from me. I've got some pretty good supports if you want them.
Exactly. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Oh, sorry. If this is interrupting the ending, but I forgot to say this earlier. This is kind of like a thing that I probably should have said earlier when we were talking about the Dark event. I did get Dark.
I know, I'm so jealous. I've been using her as
and what's
support.
more, I had saved for her for a while. Like, I managed to save up, like, over 2,000 Magia stones.
Oh my god.
I got 2 copies of her, and speaking of spending, I spent a little bit extra to do a few more pulls, and I got a 3rd one.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Sorry, I just had to. I'm so
okay.
happy, but also, like, I probably shouldn't have, but also I'm so happy.
I need to start saving up my gems for the next event where it's like, okay, I gotta have that one.
Thankfully, there's nothing I'm, like, super gunning for a while after this, so I can take it easy for a little while.
Don't they eventually have Ultimate Madoka?
Yeah, although nobody knows quite when she's supposed to come out. She was a 1-year anniversary thing for JP.
So what you're saying is I have about a year of saving up to do.
Maybe, unless they decide to, like, bring her out early for story reasons, because she also came out around the time Chapter 10 debuted.
Okay, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Anyway, Sorry for dragging out the ending.
It's okay. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time with Rebellion Story.
Yay, look forward to it.
Woo! Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.